Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. The release of Huawei Mate 60 attracted global attention. Laboratories in the United States and Western countries immediately disassembled and tested Mate 60. After that, many reports about Mate 60 came out. For example, the United States stated that Huawei cores are produced using a technology unknown to the United States, while the Japanese Research Institute stated that Huawei cores are actually produced using a 14 nanometers process, but due to higher transistor density, they have performance comparable to the 7 nanometers process. Taiwanese media stated that Huawei chips are manufactured by SMIC. No matter what the outside world speculates, Huawei has not disclosed the foundry manufacturer of Kirin 9000's chips. Not only that, Huawei also recently announced that it will stop purchasing Qualcomm chips starting in 2024. Qualcomm announced large-scale layoffs in response to reduced demand. What people didn't expect was that just when Huawei chips were sweeping the world and causing concern in the United States, Japan and other countries, Mr. He Zhuoxiu, a 96-year-old academician of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, angrily criticized Huawei on social media platforms. The incident once again triggered domestic controversy. Focus on: Huawei stopped purchasing Qualcomm chips, and Qualcomm had no choice but to lay off employees. At present, Huawei has not disclosed the foundry manufacturer and related data of the Kirin 9000's chip. It is still unknown how this chip is produced and which Chinese chip manufacturer produces it. There is no conclusive evidence to prove various speculations from the outside world, but in any case, the changes brought by this domestic advanced chip to the international chip industry pattern are already clear at a glance. Mate 60 is currently expected to ship around 15 million units, and Huawei has recently raised its expected mobile phone shipments next year to 60 million units. This means that Huawei can basically steadily obtain about 60 million chips every year. After finding a new source of chips, Huawei began to say goodbye to Qualcomm. Therefore, some professional forecasting agencies said that Qualcomm may reduce its chip shipments by about 60 million next year because of Huawei, which will affect Qualcomm's revenue by about 30 million. At present, Qualcomm has begun to take action to deal with the reduced demand for chips brought about by Huawei's strong return. Qualcomm will lay off about 25% of its global workforce this year, about 3,000 people. Not only that, Qualcomm also said, if the market environment does not improve next year, Qualcomm will likely continue to lay off employees. In fact, judging from Qualcomm's recent situation, there is a high probability that it will not get better next year, but will only get worse. After all, after losing Huawei as a customer, Qualcomm's chip shipments will inevitably be further affected, not to mention that due to the expansion of the US chip ban, the number of Chinese companies that Qualcomm can ship to is also decreasing. Nowadays, Huawei has not only opened up the domestic electronic components industry chain, but also helped domestic chip manufacturers achieve breakthroughs through Hubble, and has a stable and advanced chip foundry channel. This also proves that Huawei has provided a large amount of funds to HiSilicon over the years to help HiSilicon achieve breakthroughs. Previously, a 96-year-old academician, Huishio, once angrily criticized Huawei on a social media platform. Mr. Huishio said, "Huawei's behavior in researching chips is wrong. In the field of chips, Huawei's technical level has not reached the world's top level and is far inferior to Dutch. If Huawei does not engage in chip research and development, it will not be suppressed by the United States and can be shared." Whether these words are correct, in fact, it can be seen from Huawei's results that Huawei's research and development capabilities in the chip field have reached the world's top level, especially in chip design. However, Mr. Huishio is right when he says that Huawei should strengthen its R&D team. Although Huawei has reached the world's top level in the field of chip R&D, if it wants to achieve a breakthrough under the siege of the United States and its allies, the stronger the R&D team, the better. Therefore, Huawei must strengthen the strength of the R&D team. As for the so-called sharing between the United States and China, I actually disagree with this statement. Judging from the industrial chain situation of China and the United States in the fields of semiconductors and smart equipment before the US chip ban was issued. Although the United States is indeed exporting chips to China, the United States has also taken away a large amount of profits from the industrial chain through chips. In fact, judging from the comparison of revenue, profit, and other related data between domestic mobile phone manufacturers such as Xiaomi, OPPO, and Vivo and Qualcomm, Chinese mobile phone manufacturers have to pay patent licensing fees to Qualcomm, and also need to purchase chips from Qualcomm at high prices, and even compete with each other. To seize the first launch of Qualcomm chips, Chinese manufacturers cannot make as much profit from shipping a smartphone as Qualcomm. If China wants to achieve industrial upgrading and take more profits from the supply chain, it must have core technologies in its hands. Why can Huawei top the list of Chinese mobile phone manufacturers in terms of revenue and profits? It relies on Huawei's self-developed Hongmeng system and Kirin chips. Indeed, if China does not develop its own chips, the United States will contribute some backward technologies to China and will also ship advanced chips to China. However, in this case, China will undoubtedly work for the United States and watch the United States take away more profits.